everyone. Welcome to another beautiful episode of Spill It Podcast. With me today is an exceptional Nigerian creative, well versed in all forms of art. I'm talking rap music, I'm talking poetry, I'm talking photography, anything communication, anything storytelling. He is the person you should go to, and is no other person than the brilliant mind by the name of Mr. Onyeka, popularly known as the Brainbox. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very fine. Absolutely. I'm grateful. It's an amazing day.
It is.
Yeah, and it's the voting season. So
It is. But before we go into, the topic for today is election, obviously.
Yeah.
But before we go into that, how are you coping with the whole cashless policy, cashless system? How have you been able to navigate the whole struggle?
well, I went cashless about 3 years ago when I kept misplacing my ATM. So I had to start doing lots of transfers to people. And it's all about being patient with people because when you transfer, they want to ensure that they get the alert before you move on. So I was always ready for that. So I transferred to a lot of people, and many people will tell you that they don't have accounts. It's not really true because the banking system has been here for long enough time
Yeah.
for people to take their monies to the banks. But then, coping about it, I think I would say that it's really not healthy because the the internet banking system is not robust enough or efficient enough to, help people cope with the times. So I don't think it was well thought out, considering that whatsoever have negative or whatever has a negative impact on people, on the general public, on the masses, I don't particularly think, even though it might be a good policy in the long run, as long as people suffer, you don't have to suffer to, you know, get make simple things as just a transfer. So
Great.
or paid for something. Yeah.
Great. So before we go into this thing, I just want to ask Mr. Brainbox, do you have your voter's card? Are you ready to vote come Saturday?
Yeah, I'm very, very ready to vote. In fact, I think I have my voter's card in a vault because I don't want something to happen to it. I actually traveled down
Oh,
to vote because this is the place where I registered. So, and then obviously you could see people are coming in from even the abroad. So
to
who am
vote.
I? Yeah, who am I not to? So of course, I'm very, very ready to vote. I think I would not be able to live with myself or live with that conscience if I don't vote.
Okay. So I know that like one of the would I say a common practice in Nigeria is like the presidential election takes the front the front seat, right? So most people are so energetic to vote for during the presidential election, and then that's all they do with their voters card. So for you, is that also like the norm for you, or are you also going to outside presidential election? Are you also going to vote in the gubernatorial, senatorial, and all of that?
Yeah, I possibly could because they are actually very important because these people at the very local levels of government also get funding or monies, rather, they're also accountable to the people, they're actually closer to the people. So anything local means that is directly in touch with the people. So it's a very important question you've asked. But I also think that the Nigerian um, political climate or electoral system, the president has too much power. So that is why it
I agree.
seems that people are more focused on the presidential elections. In fact, I can tell you that if there was a bad road in any community, very local community, they will still call the
Yeah.
president's name.
Yes.
So because the 1999 constitution empowers the president, I mean, this is GCFR, you know. So it's very, very huge. And people also feel that the presidential election, the outcome of the presidential election is going to have a very, very astronomical impact on how people would vote in the remaining elections. If you notice in 2015 and 2019, um, because Buhari was there, a lot of people were voting for APCs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but then it can be very, very tricky because you might have a president, you might vote for the presidential candidates who you think it's very good, but because we run a party system kind of government in Nigeria, you would see that people will just naturally go and keep voting for the party, forgetting that behind that party logo is an individual.
Yeah.
And the local government chairman in your community might not necessarily have the same values
Yeah.
with the president you're voting for. And unfortunately, our party systems are not run on ideas. That's the sad thing about it. So you have the Libertarian Party, I think in America, you have Democrats, and they have Republicans. So these are idea-driven parties. So I don't see that in most of the political parties here. So if you ask me what's APC's ideology, I really don't know. If you ask me what's PDP's ideology, Nnamdi Azikiwe wrote a book about ideology for Nigeria. And I read that book a long time ago, but I realized that what could solve Nigeria's problem is just ideas. So, but these parties don't run on ideas. I think it's more about sharing money and doing all those stuff. So I think they are not honest with it. So, but back to your question, the presidential election is very, very important for me because I know that with the kind of power the Nigerian president has, especially power of influence, I think it's really going to go a long way for people like me if I was going to vote in a local government election or in the gubernatorial election. Then maybe I might be finding someone who has the same values with the person I'm voting for at the presidential level.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's it. Yeah.
Generally, I know there's like so much tension. I feel like this is the first election in a long while where the margins are exclusively tight.
Yeah.
Like of all the presidential candidates, nobody knows for sure who will take the bag home. And for me, I think that has created a tension. How does it feel for you? Like, are you optimistic? Are you energetic? What do you think the outcome of, like, what do you think is the future regarding the outcome of this election for Nigerians? Do you feel like the tension is valid?
Yeah, it's valid. I mean, how anyone feels about something is valid. I believe in that very strongly. But why are people even making predictions? Why are people more concerned about the outcome of the elections when the process hasn't yet been completed? I mean, I've seen a lot of polls saying this candidate would win, this other candidate will win. I mean, for me, it's how the country is now. You know how the country has been since 1960. If you were not born, you must have read about it. You must have heard from your parents or people who have come before us. We know all the tragedies that this country has survived.
Yeah.
So it's left to you to go out there and cast your votes, go back home and sit and wait for the result. Because I feel that it's like people saying, it's always good to begin with the end in mind, actually. There's this thing they say, to what purpose, to what end? Because people don't want to lose hope. So they want to vote for a candidate that is going to sustain that hope and then ultimately change the country. But I feel that you shouldn't be worried. I mean, if you are in love with someone, you should be worried about playing your role. Because when you play your role very well, ultimately the relationship would blossom. So you don't get into a relationship, for example, hoping to get married to someone while you're unable to do the things you need to do. Because if you do the things you need to do and it doesn't work out, for example, if I vote for my candidate and he doesn't win, the next thing is to probably work with the next candidate and then begin to demand accountability from that person. But hopefully, I want my candidate to win because I believe in everything he has said. I believe in everything that he believes in. And I think that is what we could focus on. Just go out there and vote and stop predicting, because it is these predictions that might ultimately lead to
I
violence.
agree.
People are all in their feelings, but they have the right to be in their feelings.
Do you think they like voters turnout has improved? Do you feel like the engagements in recent years have changed? And what do you think is responsible for that?
Yeah, I think it has changed. I mean, we have over 90 million voters who are eligible to participate in this election, and that's away from around 84 million in 2019. One of the factors, if I like to think so, is I might say, oh, maybe, of course, now population that increase, so,
Yeah.
but that would be just a layman's perspective. There are indicators that show that young people within the ages of 18 and 34 have voted more in this, are going to be voting more in this election. In fact, not just voting, they participated in so many conversations, from Twitter to town hall meetings. They've asked valid questions. And
That town hall statement took me somewhere
yeah,
else.
yeah, yeah, I know. I thought about it before I said it, but of course. So, and these young people are willing to participate. Before now, it was all about, Big Brother Nigeria was being on
Yeah.
everybody's minds, and then people just didn't really care at all because they didn't know how it affected us. You didn't know, for example, that if you're asking your boyfriend for money, it's because the economy is bad. And I'll say this: a lot of women should go out there and vote, because that's if the country is good, that's how men are able to provide. It's that huge, the impact of the person you're
Yeah.
voting for. But ultimately, I just think that because of the October 2020
The
NSAS
answers, yeah,
protests,
movement.
made people to be more invested. Because I think one of the things they were told, the youth, was that you don't go to the protest, you don't go to the field or get on the streets to protest, because it's actually much more dangerous. But voting is a form of protest against police brutality, for example. The next president will have to ensure that police is accountable for every single bullet fired. And of course, nobody should be fired. No young person should be fired. I'm here, I have my hair, and it's easy for the police to see me as someone who might be doing something dubious. But I've been purposeful with my life, and this is just my style. So I think that that is the primary reason. But that's not the only reason. I also feel that beyond NSAS might have been the reason why you have a lot of young people more invested, because we saw how they cut the lives of young people short. One of the saddest things that can happen to in this world is for a young person to die. It's for a tiny plant to not blossom, or tiny flower. So I think that is basically why I think the voter turnout is going to be, apart from even the fact that people are more engaged, people are going to come out to vote. That is the reality. Now, people are going to come out to vote because for someone like me, you feel that when you don't vote, you're part of the problem.
Yes.
Because when you don't vote, when I don't vote now, whoever gets in the seat, it's almost as if I've lost my right
Yeah. To
to
hold them
to
accountable.
hold them accountable.
Definitely.
But when I vote, even when I vote for the wrong candidate, even when I vote for a candidate that doesn't win and then maybe another candidate wins, I will still have the right
Yes.
to vote, because this particular right of civic duty, I've been able to express it.
Exactly.
And once you vote, and there's something one of the candidates said, just go out and vote. So ultimately, I think that is.
I would like to ask though, have you voted before? Or is this the first time you are voting?
I've voted before, and I think I was 21 years old.
Oh, and you've
And
been voting since then?
there was a particular period I didn't vote
Oh,
because I didn't like the candidate.
Oh,
I felt they didn't give me a choice.
okay.
So, and but I've actually, well, as a young person, I understand the electoral process because I've worked as an ad hoc staff when I was in university. I've been there where they count votes. I've seen people come to vote, and all of that. So I think for the periods I didn't vote, I think I was either working either as an observer, a journalist, or an ad hoc staff for the electoral body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. To just round this up, what's the craziest thing you've ever done for election or during an election process, be it you as a voter or you as an ad hoc staff?
Um, I think the craziest thing would not be arguing about politics in public. It's very dangerous. The craziest thing would also not be telling anyone who to vote for, even though deep down I would wish to, like, of course, win disciples for someone I believe in, because a lot of people do not even know who to vote for because they don't have the right information. But I think the craziest thing I've ever done was traveling to a remote community in Tarugu,
Where's that?
that's in Kaduna,
Ooh.
I think in Chikun local government.
Whoa.
I was very young. I remember my dad was telling us, me and my friend then, not to go because it was after that period that the spate of, in fact, I was coming back and violence had erupted in Kaduna at the time. And I was young, and my dad asked me not to go, but I needed to go. I think because I wanted to have the experience, and of course, I was going to be paid for my work, and I was young. I just wanted to, explore. But after a while, I was asking myself if I would allow my sister to do the same thing when she was my age at the time. Would I allow my child to do the same thing? Because it was very dangerous. I mean, even now, I don't think it's something I would want to try. So, but then, we're young. So, was it crazy? Well, maybe.
I think that can count for crazy
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it feels like you escaped by
Maybe
a
whisker,
hairpin.
Yeah. So, and I think it's even more crazy because Nigeria hasn't changed.
Exactly.
I think that's the crazy thing about it. So, which is that people are even doing more crazy things. People are flying all over the world to come and vote for these elections. People are fighting themselves online. People are putting their reputations, their lives on the line for these elections. I mean, the craziest thing, or what could make their actions crazy, is if the next president doesn't perform. But if the next president performs, then maybe being crazy
Will be justified.
Yeah, I think it's just the right thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Just finally, what do you have to say to everybody planning to vote on come Saturday? Like, what do you have to say to them?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very tense period. So, which means that anything could happen in terms of violence. Unfortunately, we pray it doesn't. So, I'll just ask everyone to watch their environment, just go out on election day and vote. And then I also think that I know people are angry. Myself, I'm very angry. If I want to start talking my mind now, I'll be very, very, because I'm very frustrated. I've been a victim of police brutality before.
Whoa.
So if I want to really air my mind, but one thing I've learned even Malcolm X at some point had to change his strategy. So I believe in the principle of nonviolent aggression, which was used by people like Mahatma Gandhi and what's his name, Martin Luther King Jr., and even Nelson Mandela at some point, that we can have meaningful conversations about these things, hopefully. And I just want Nigerians to unite and know that we're fighting common enemies like poverty, like rape, like corruption, insecurity, and poor educational investments and all of that. These are common enemies. The truth is, it's not about it's not about voting for someone from your region. It's one of the most, I don't want to say, it's not even crazy. It's just unfortunate that I would vote for someone because the person is from my place. I think you should just vote for. I mean, if the road is good, if the road to work is good, nobody says Igbo should go here, Hausa should go here. If the road is good, everybody goes to work on that same road.
Yeah.
Go out there, vote, keep your conversations online as clean and as healthy as possible. Ensure that you engage in these debates in the most appropriate manner, because what you say out there would remain out there in terms of data footprints. So express yourself, but be careful. You want to win disciples for the next candidates. I know you're angry, I'm also angry, but we could convert people. We could use this very, very amazing means to reach out to people, to advocate for social justice and to advocate for good governance. So hopefully, I'm all for peace.
Peace is the key.
Peace is the key. There is no violence that is great. No violence is great.
Yeah.
So go out there and vote peacefully.
And with that, we've come to the end of Spill It. Thank you, Mr.
Nigerian get better.
Thank you, Brainbox, for coming through.
All right, thank you so much.
All right. Spill It!